I don't want to live long enough for too many changes in computers and what you have to own
Oh, it's too late.
and what you have to learn. I don't want any more of that.
I think it's getting easier.
I like being a late adopter,
Yes,
like the super late adopter.
he's super late.
Like by the time they're just handing it out for free,
Right.
you know, like
But I mean, I only took it up to write. And I never liked writing on a computer, and that's probably half the reason I stopped. It's just so unpleasant to write on a screen.
do you usually write on a typewriter?
I used to, and I didn't mind retyping it. And then, what do you gain with the computer? It makes the clerical side of writing easier, but not the creative side, for me, even slightly.
So why don't you just write on a typewriter?
I don't have a typewriter anymore. It's like this is forever. I don't need to keep my typewriter.
Did you get rid of your
Would
typewriter?
you-
Sure,
Yeah.
certainly.
What was your typewriter before? When you
I
did it?
had a great one once. Was in 1970. I'd used manual typewriters for a long time. I don't know if I ever owned one for very long, but I decided I wanted to get an IBM Selectric, just come out of the blue. Like, I wonder what that's like. So somewhere in the spring of '70, I had a little money saved. I went to the IBM store in Manhattan, and they showed me something that for $400 would be their best model. And I got it, and I picked the color, and they delivered it to my house, and that's when IBM was a real
Running things.
business, it's an international business machines.
International
They knew how to
business
do it then. And then immediately I found that I could write faster than I could think, or so it seemed.
Really?
And it was like riding a motorcycle, and you just go to the line and it would return, and it was something.
So it was an electronic typewriter?
Not electronic. It didn't have any
Electric
memory. It's electric.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And
What was the model? Do you remember?
IBM Selectric.
That's it, the Selectric.
Yeah.
Not the
And
2000.
then they'd have the Selectric 2, which had some correction function, but after a while, I mean, I used it for over 10 years. I might have replaced it with some update, but suddenly it got to be where you had to turn in every magazine that I wrote for, LA Weekly, whatever. You had to turn in the text, and either over the phone or give them a floppy disk of it.
Right.
And the routine was, if you're not willing to do this, you have to come into the office here and punch it into our computer. We don't have typesetters at this office anymore. This is in the about 1990 or so, something like that.
That's about right.
And it was just so unpleasant to have to be working on in what I thought was an uncomfortable form.
Did you end up going to the office, or did you get your own
I got my own.
computer
I
at
went.
that
I went and
point?
did it. Yeah. And I had this word processing program that called XYwrite. XYwrite. It's a company in Boston, and Tasha's found this online when he got a computer about the same time, and he looked in the London Times Literary Supplement had a guide to all the word processing programs in the world at the time, and they said nothing beats XYwrite for write. That it's a program for writers.
Right.
That it's very easy to customize to do things that writers like to do and so forth. And so we both got that, and it was pretty good. I mean, I still didn't like working on a computer, but you could just come up with these little keystroke combinations that would do little odd things that you usually would do by hand or whatever.
Right.
And so it was not the worst outcome. I mean, I also tried, Microsoft Word and Word Perfect, and they were terrible.
Yeah.
And so the next thing I don't know how many years I had that. By 2000, IBM bought out XYwrite just to put them out of business, just to not have them as competition. And they, before they had come up with a internet compatible version. So for whatever reason, you can't use it.
On the internet.
I mean, unless you did some interface or whatever. But so I've been using the Microsoft Word, Office, whatever they call it, ever since, and I hate it.
Yeah. So it's not. It's almost like playing a shitty instrument or something, or a band you don't.
Well, on
have
a level of, like, let's say you want to emphasize a phrase, and you want the phrase to end before the period, the word, and then there's the period. It won't let you do it. It'll go, you have to have the period too.
Right, it'll correct it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your style is kind of shitty on that kind of thing,
Right.
Like when it's always correcting, or.
Not so much correcting as there were just things that little keystrokes that could move you from all around the surface of the page, up, down, whatever. And Office doesn't have them. You could come up with, what is it called? What's the term for these macros? You could come up with your own macros to do it. But XYwrite had them. You could do.
Right, it was all there.
It was all there.
XYwrite.
Yeah. It was in the town of Billerica, Massachusetts.